So it's happening, and it's happening now. We are about to see a massive change in the crypto world, and it's coming next week. We are going to get the first approval of a Bitcoin Futures ETF in the United States. It's kind of a landmark moment because even though we had some Bitcoin or crypto ETF that existed, but those were meant or reserved for wealthy individuals. And for the first time, SEC will allow Bitcoin Futures ETF to begin trading next week. Let's take a look at this news in a bit more detail and see how this will affect the crypto market in the coming days. So on Friday, we got this news right here that ProShares filed paperwork to launch its own much-awaited Bitcoin Futures ETF, which will go by the name of BITO. Right here, as you can see, ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, which will give exposure to Bitcoin Futures contract by the ticker BITO right here. And it's going to, or it's supposed to start trading next week. Most likely Tuesday, but could happen Monday as well. We'll see. So far, SEC has always shied away from crypto ETFs because just how volatile they have been. But recently, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler in August said that he would consider a future-based ETF right here. Now, if you simply Google Bitcoin ETF, you are going to see hundreds of articles covering this topic and also how bullish this means for crypto in US. Let's take a step back and understand what it means and then what is the best way to play, in my opinion. So what is a Bitcoin ETF right here? If you go on Investopedia, you will get an awesome definition of the Bitcoin ETF. But in simple terms, ETFs stand for an exchange-traded fund, and it is an investment that tracks the price of the underlying asset or a security, in this case, Bitcoin, and is tradable in US stock exchange. In this case, the funds would track the price of a Bitcoin futures traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or CME rather than Bitcoin itself. Now, these ETFs won't hold the actual Bitcoin because they are not spot ETFs, but instead they will deal in Bitcoin futures, which are essentially a contract to own Bitcoin on a future date. Now, I know this is too much going on here, but SEC has mentioned that they do not like spot ETF, which essentially means an ETF that will hold Bitcoin just because it's much more volatile in nature. But what I don't understand is that they're launching a futures ETF, which is way more volatile because it deals with options. So on a bull run, it goes higher. On a downturn, it goes lower than the actual Bitcoin or actual asset it's tracking. Now, ProShares have this intention of trading the Bitcoin ETF for a very long time. It's not new. Look, this is a filing from 2017 right here on SEC that they're basically talking about starting a ETF that tracks Bitcoin. But SEC was not open to the idea, and finally they're coming around. So why is this so exciting for us investors or for crypto industry in the US? Well, there are a few things, and let's take a look at them one by one. So number one right here, I feel, is that this will be available for anyone interested in investing in crypto. You do not have to open a Coinbase account or a Voyager account to trade the crypto, so giving it much more exposure. See, I still know few people who do not trust the crypto exchange and would not submit their license or their personal information to open an account. And for those more reserved investors, these ETF will open the gates to crypto world. Number two, very important in crypto world is trust. All the big pension funds and other managed funds would not touch Bitcoin directly because they don't want to deal with the tax implication or other SEC nightmares. Now, having a future-based ETF, they have a set of rule books on how to play this and what will be their implications. So making them much more comfortable in putting the large amount of funds in the ETF. Number three, which does not apply to this ETF, is diversification. Now, BITO or ProShares Bitcoin ETF only holds Bitcoin or only tracks Bitcoin. But I'm sure in the coming weeks, we are going to get ETFs which will have Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and many more coins so investors can take advantage of the diversification of all these coins. Now, along with all these few great points, there are some disadvantages as well. For example, future-based ETFs won't track the Bitcoin perfectly. So for example, future-based ETF won't track Bitcoin perfectly because of the cost of buying and selling these contracts. So one of the concerns I have is the fee. So the fee, also the middlemen taking their cut. So if I were to buy straight up Bitcoin and if the Bitcoin goes up $1,000, I'm not going to see the same gain in my ETF due to the fee structure and all the middlemen taking their cut. Number two is that lack of ownership. You are not actually owning the crypto or the coin. You own the futures, which is a type of a contract, as I mentioned earlier, and not an actual asset, which brings to my number 3 point is not accurate. The price movement is not accurate. I mean, if Bitcoin goes up 10%, the ETF won't necessarily go up 10% because of the cost associated with it. And all the middlemen, as I mentioned earlier, who are going to take their profit first, and then you are going to get your share. So who should trade this and why should we trade this? So if you are someone who were sitting on the sidelines and do not own any crypto, then this is your chance, as you do not have to do anything extra. You can just buy it like any other stock. And if you are someone who is already in crypto but would like to be a part of this ETF, as they're new and hot and will have potential to gain value quickly, then it'll be interesting to invest in this. So now let me share a piece of history. So as we know that gold has been used as an inflation hedge for many decades, and the first gold ETF, this was the spot ETF, not the futures, that came in the market was in 2004, right here, when the first gold ETF was launched. And you can see from the chart, this was 2004 right here, that it has done quite well in the number of years. It launched at like some $5 and it went up to like 40 some dollars in 2004. And since then, it has gone to almost now $170. Now, I'm not a financial advisor and this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm planning to buy a few of these at the launch on Monday or Tuesday, just so that I can track these and be a part of the big change that's coming to US market. I do not plan to buy much, as I am much more interested in spot ETF and not futures. And I would rather buy direct Bitcoin, which I have some and I continue to buy. I currently hold about 2% of my portfolio in crypto, and they are mainly Ethereum, Bitcoin, ADA, Link, Dogecoin, and few others. I feel Ethereum is going to be huge in the coming years, but Bitcoin will always remain that leader which defines the pricing of the crypto world. But there is a huge shift that's happening between Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm planning a video on that, as there was some interesting article I was reading over the weekend about the demand and supply. We are entering an interesting time in crypto market, and I think a massive bull run is here. And it'll be interesting to see how this will lift the prices for other cryptos. If you like the video, then hit the like button. And if you're new, then consider subscribing so you do not miss out on future videos. As always, an absolute pleasure to share all of this with everyone. Until next time, you all have a sparkling day.